Hear ye, the royal order of all officials in professional sports suck society is now back in session. The Honorables Mr. Hart, Fitzy, and Giardi are with you in session as we discuss how disgusted we are with the officiating in the latest round of Boston sports tragedies that would be the Boston Bruins. And if we get a chance, we'll sneak in a rookie minicamp reaction to the Patriots bringing Drake Maye, Jalen Polk, and Javon Baker into town for real at Gillette Stadium on the latest Six Rings and Football Things, brought to you, of course, as always, by WEEI, Odyssey, and 2400 Sports. You got Fitzy, you got Hart, and of course, today we are joined by the consummate professional himself from Boston Sports Journal, Mr. Mike Giardi. Guys, let's just go ahead. What's that?
What's with the face, Andy? What was that all about?
Consummate professional?
What are you talking about? Listen to the two. Does he? Yeah, exactly. And of course, now I've had to move on from Tom Brady. I am the official Javon Baker fan club president as well. I'm looking forward to Mike's responses. So Mike was actually, for everyone, just so I can set the table, Mike was at rookie minicamp over the weekend. For some reason, Andy and I weren't. We'll just leave that up to you guys to figure out why WEEI didn't have a presence there, even though we have Patriots Mondays and Fridays. So we're going to get Mike's rookie camp reactions, first impressions, and so much more. Of course, Jalen Polk and Drake Maye got custom Bruins jerseys made, and they attended their first ever game at the Garden over the weekend. And yes, we all believe they probably could have helped out on the Bruins power play defense. I'm just going to go with it. But our quick Bruins reaction before we get into it. I'm all choked up, Mike. I'm so happy you're here. I still don't understand. Like Andy's the bandwagon leader of all refs suck, period. And,
yes.
And you know what? Again, Andy, I can't stand giving you your flowers, your laurels, your wreaths, and yeah, you were right again, Hat. You were right. But I got to tell you, after watching game 4 where the Bruins were holding on, they needed a miracle to be able to win and keep up in a series against a team they are absolutely in no way, shape, or form on the same playing surface as. But when a call is that bad and that egregious, how do you not just throw your hands up and say, obviously this isn't meant to be? It really feels like the fix is in Bettman's league.
I'm not going to go with the fix is in, but boy, I could that call and it's difficult when Darren Pang played the game for a bazillion years. He's terrific doing color. He didn't even really know the rule. No one's explaining it after the fact. We get the cross check from Bennett that knocks Charlie Coyle into Swayman. Bennett scores the goal to tie it up. You also get the penalty on the Bruins on top of that, so the momentum really shifted.
Yeah.
And when you read the rule as it started to 20 minutes later, one of the ESPN guys sort of posted the rule, and you're like, okay, that's what happened. So why is the goal? Why did the replay center say that it was fine? And then again, to hear like the comments about it afterwards and what they said about it. So did you change the rule as we were playing the game? Did Troy
Vincent call up and say
Corey
Clement was in the end zone on that one?
Yeah, it felt like I just don't get it.
No, it felt like it felt like officiating jazz, Mike, like they were making it up as they went. And then Andy,
what they always do. And it's the continued spotlight on the fact that replay is not used to fix things. It's used to find ways for them to make themselves right on the original call. The NBA does it all the time. They find a way to tell you, nope, this challenge failed because of X, Y, and Z. And I just go back. This is my kindergarten rule that I've used since the tuck rule. Was that a fumble? Go get every kindergartner in America, tell them to watch it, and ask them if it's a fumble or not a fumble. They would all say fumble. In this one, they'd all say, I don't know hockey, but that's not fair. I don't think you're allowed to do what that guy just did.
You can't literally shove a guy from the back into the goalie. He's laying on the goaltender as the other guy puts the biscuit in the basket, and somehow they try to validate that was the right. Or
that's why I want to get rid of replay in all sports. Replay has not.
I hate replay.
Intended. Yeah. If you're going to F it up and then validate it via slow motion replay that causes us all to sit around with our thumb up our ass for like 8 or 10 minutes, then just skip the replay part, pork us from the beginning, and then move on.
No, and I know this is a football podcast, but I think this is very germane to the state of affairs in all professional sports because it does, Andy, like you said, like it does sort of seem like replay and all of these little fancy, like, oh, now we're going to have lasers on the field for first down markers. AI will. I don't trust any of it. I like either robotize and computerize everything, or strip it all away, and let's just go back to the eye test.
That's what I want.
If you're gonna have replay in that scenario, so like when I think was it Burke was calling the game doing play-by-play, I think that's who it was, and he was like, well, the way I'm understanding it, once that sort of information came out from the ESPN writer, was that because they didn't call the penalty on the cross-check, therefore everything kind of went after that, and they can't go back on replay and say, well, that's a penalty. Well, if it leads to a goal, directly leads to a goal, then if you're going to have replay, then that actually should be replayed. No. Hey, cross-check the dude, Charlie Coyle, into the goalie. So the goal, not only is the goal not a goal, but that's a cross-check, and you're going to the box for 2 minutes. Like that. If you're going to have replay, then that's the proper way to do it. So either get rid of it completely, or on a play that decides the game or helps to decide the game, then a scoring play that should be reviewable from start to finish.
And
to top it off, Andy,
in the NFL rule book, where if there is I believe they refer to it as a palpably unfair act, officials can award or remove a touchdown, a scoring play, for quote unquote a palpably unfair act. Why you wouldn't have that in hockey for like the just, I'm a big believer unnecessary roughness doesn't need to be listed. If the ref deems something unnecessary roughness, you trust him to officiate a game, let him just say unnecessary roughness. I don't care which rule it falls under. In this case, that was a palpably unfair act. Like if you're going to have something called interference and that's not called interference, then remove interference. Because like a little while later in the third period, Bruins get called for interference on like a puck down the boards. And it's like, wait a minute, you're going to call that, but a guy can shove a guy into a goalie and then use the hole created by the shove to score. And that's not it's just so stupid, but it's almost, to me, I'm actually beyond anger. I think it's because I've bitched about officiating for so long. None of this surprises me. They are so inept in every sport, every level, like ages doesn't matter. They all suck. And we just move on. I think you just have to may I have another, sir? Thank you. I'm bent over. Go ahead. May I have another?
And Andy, as one of the kids on my son's coach pitch little league team said the other day when he was in his catching gear and a ball skipped off the dirt and hit him where it shouldn't, and he goes, "Whoa, man! I took that one right off the peanuts."
We are all peanuts.
When you hear it from a 6-year-old, it's even funnier. I feel like we're just taking one after another on the peanuts because right after the game or right around the game started, you saw that the NHL on TBS and then Spittin' Chicklets tweeted out the alternate angle of the same guy that scored the goal. What's his name again?
Sam Bennett.
Sam Bennett.
He's like a nice guy, by the way. Did you see his post-game interview? I give him credit for doing the post-game interview with the network afterwards.
And coming across as a total
over the years would have run with their tail between their legs like bitches.
That's fact.
He's such an ass clown to be able to present such a nice facade and be all gentlemanly. Meanwhile, he cross-checks a guy into the goal for a cheap goal, and then you can see he just absolutely popped Marchand, and that's going to keep him out of 2 games. Series is over anyway. All right, everyone feel a little bit better now.
Patriots.
Yeah. All right. Now let's cheer ourselves up by talking about a team that best case scenario.
Drake Maye's throwing motion.
Goes 6-11. All right. So Mike, you were there. And
yes.
You got a firsthand look Saturday for the hour plus of viewing access that you were granted at Drake Maye, Jalen Polk, Javon Baker, Caden Wallace, Marcellus Dial et al. In Patriots uniforms for the first time. Now, obviously, fans are going to see those little cut-ups from at Patriots official and say, look at the hands on Jalen Polk. Wow, what a fluid throwing motion on Drake Maye. Although some people said, looks like he could use a little more leg May or leg day as well. Javon Baker, he moves so well. That photo of the two of them together, the new dynamic duo. Tell us just your first overall impressions of them physically, and then a couple of things that you happen to notice that stood out at rookie minicamp.
Well, I think one of the first things that jumps out to you, and I'll include Joe Milton in this conversation about the quarterbacks and Drake Maye, is the weaponry in the arm that did not exist with the Mac Jones, and certainly even though Bailey Zappi is still on the roster, does not exist with Bailey Zappi. The ball just comes smoking out of both those guys' hands.
Mike, are you in a cesspool? Like your audio?
Yeah, your audio for some reason has gotten a little robotized.
I don't know. Shouldn't be.
I think it's I think
How
it's
about now? We've been nothing like doing this on the fly. No,
that's much better now. That's good.
I have 5 bars.
Yep, we're good.
5 bars. I think it's on your end. Probably Andy's. It's probably Andy's fault somehow.
Well, actually, we're actually using a service to record and stream this now with our fans that I pay for out of my pocket. So at least the company's not going to cut it up from underneath us. So anyway, no, it's not all good. Yeah, proceed.
No. So I was just going to say, just like the obvious arm strength with Maye and Milton is not something that you, even on Mac's best day, you ever saw. Even on Zappy's best day, you don't see it. The ball just comes out of their hand so effortlessly with velocity. There was a couple throws from Milton. One, he's rolling to his left, flips his hips, and just like the flick of the wrist, and the ball's 40 yards on a line, and you're just, like that's some real talent that didn't exist in that capacity last year in that quarterback room. But what I will say about Maye, other than like looking the part, he definitely looks like an NFL quarterback, is that there is a little bit of I called it a shoulder hitch in his delivery that's a little odd, that I actually don't recall seeing too much of, if at all, during the tape that I watched of him in North Carolina. And look, there was a weird part of practice in the sense that they were never going 100%. There was a lot of like 50% stuff. So there were actual moments during practice where when he was throwing the ball, you're like, it's just both of them, both quarterbacks, where they threw the ball and you're like, that doesn't look right. But I think I'm trying to like wrap my head around the idea that because of the speed at which with which they were playing, that I think sometimes it was like, oh, well, no, wait, then throw. So I'm curious when we get to, I don't even think MiniCamp will be, the mandatory MiniCamp. I think it's when we get to training camp, what it all looks like then. But it was something that I did notice that hadn't really struck me about. We've talked a lot about Maye's footwork. I hadn't seen the upper body part as a problem. I don't know if this is a problem. I'm just telling you, it looked a little different, looked a little funny.
Could it just be a result of whatever Alex Van Pelt is asking them to do, like early on, like I want 100%. You mechanically, whatever, to be thinking about X, Y, and Z, and maybe that takes him a little bit out of his natural throwing motion, something of that.
Yeah, I don't. That's why I'm trying not to like overreact to it. I put it in my story, but it literally was one line in the story, and it was down. I didn't put it as the lead. Like I don't know yet. It's not something that I had seen prior to Saturday with him from his college tape. So like, my assumption is that he's going to throw that way. And they did some interesting things, with their footwork. Like there was one stretch in the beginning where they were almost doing like elongated dropbacks where their feet separation was greater than it normally would be. So like, again, there's a teaching point there. What's the teaching point? I don't know. We didn't get to talk to Alex afterwards to sort of ask like, what's the point of that drill? But you're like, that's not how he's going to drop back during a game. Like if you saw it, you'd have been like, yeah, they wouldn't do that. But there's a reason for it. We just don't know what the reason is.
Yeah. And I think what happens is, Mike, fans will get caught up in seeing people with stronger arms, with more NFL ready bodies, people that look like they are playing the part of professional football quarterback, and say like, well, obviously they have so much to work with here. This, the sky is shining bright and everything should be sunshine and puppies. But you basically have to we have to recalibrate our expectations. And I think Mayo has spoken to this, but fans need to do it as well. They may love the raw product that is Drake Maye, and then later on Joe Milton, but more importantly, Drake Maye. But they may see that and say, all right, we have so much work to do with this kid, from the footwork. Maybe we have to change his arm slot. Maybe we've got to have him get the ball out quicker. There could be so many things that shouldn't we almost now try to coach ourselves into expecting that it's going to get janky for a while before it gets fluid and pretty?
Yeah, I think 100%. And it's why I've sort of, I keep bringing it up, and I know Andy was big on the Josh Allen comparison just in terms of the physical stature and some of the things he did in the field. But I also look at it as the developmental process of Josh Allen. When Josh came in, there was a rawness to his game. His setup, his base was different. They had to, what he came in as a rookie and the way he threw the ball as a rookie is not anything like what he was doing when he exploded in year 3. And that's sort of how I'm viewing Drake Maye. Like, if it happens faster than it happened for Josh Allen, that'd be awesome. Everybody would be psyched. But like, to me, there's going to be incremental progress, and it's not just going to be a rocket ship that goes like this. At least I don't think. I don't think we're going to look at this year at the end of the year and be like, oh my God, he had like the same kind of year that CJ Stroud had. I think we're going to be like, okay, we finally got to see him play in whenever, October, November, whatever it is. And then, yeah, there were some great moments. And there was also some moments that made you go, ooh, he's got to fix that. So that to me is sort of where I've already got my head at. Like, when we see him, there are going to be moments where you are going to see that $1 million arm, or whatever they get paid now. $1 million arm doesn't cut it. But there's also going to be times where you go, man, he wasn't close with that throw. He's got to work, his footwork's a mess or whatever. He's not processing it fast enough. Whatever it is, that's where I'm already, my brain is already at.
Two things quick on that. I've seen some overall comparisons of late between Maye and Phillip Rivers, more the personality than the throwing motion.
Yeah.
But I would say we need to remember Phillip Rivers threw funny for like, I don't know, I'd have to check the numbers, 80,000 yards or whatever.
Yeah.
Right.
Whatever
a
stupid
time.
number of yards, was very successful. And then the other thing is, until sort of the Aaron Rodgers crossing with Patrick Mahomes era, they didn't teach kids to throw the way those guys throw. It was more the Tom Brady. It was more the fundamental square up platform, shoulder tight. And now I can tell you, sort of looking around with a high school kid, they all teach the way Patrick Mahomes throw, off platform and like the various arm angles.
How do you teach that though, Andy? Like, sorry to step in, but like, how do you teach?
They work on it at all times. Throwing off platform, throwing going backwards, throwing going across your body. Like, all of that is now taught by a lot of these QB coach gurus. So there's also an aspect of that, I think, to Drake Maye's game where he is capable of that. And I don't know where that's going to align with sort of traditional fundamentals versus how he throws the ball in the year 2024 and beyond.
Yeah, we've seen it. I'll give you the extreme example, right? Is Tebow, right? Tebow came in as this unbelievably productive college player, maybe as productive as any college quarterback ever, and a winner, and all these different things that got attached to him, right? But he was never a great thrower, even though in college he put up big numbers. And every year with Tebow, it was back to the lab, right? And they've recreated his throwing motion, and he's doing what Andy said, the shoulder's tighter and this, that, and the other thing. And then the moment somebody broke free through the middle of the line or coming off the edge, what does he go back to? The thing that he's done since he was 7, 8 years old. He threw the ball, like, oh, no, this is,
right.
Everything got loose and this is how he throws it. So I think there was going to be a part of that where you probably for years won't be able to, if you're really trying to refine it, get that out of his game. But the point is, and I think a big part of this early on for him is to sort of how consistent can you get with the changes that we're making to make you more accurate, to make you, cleaner in the pocket. Like that's the thing. And that's hard for fans if you're sitting there on the sideline during training camp practices in row 7 in the bleachers, when you're pretty much ground level with them, like, how do you really know what they're doing to his feet? And how do you know, like, oh, he threw that ball poorly. Well, was it because of his feet? Was it because of his arm? Did he get hurried up? Did the receiver run the wrong route? Like, that's going to be hard to tell. And that's where you're going to have to trust, Alex and their plan for him to like tighten that up a little bit and gain the consistency so that when he finally plays and it's coming at him for real, that he stays mostly in that character and doesn't go back to the things that they're trying to get him away from.
Just give him a limited script. Don't give him, give him a small daily menu. Don't give him the entire like Ukrainian diner menu with like 12 pages of everything. Like, just learn how to make these dishes first before you have to worry about soups and fish and everything else. A lot of, Mike, what the Patriots and what fans will have to look to and rely on will be, flair, style, but some personality as well. It was good to hear Gerard Mayo. We'll hear from him momentarily, but it was good to hear Gerard Mayo say that basically it is going to be Alex Van Pelt in Drake Maye's ear year 1. So we're not going to have Joe Judge and Matt Patricia and this guy and that guy. Like, he's transitioning from the college level to the pros, maybe a little young, definitely a whole lot raw. To have just one guy in his ear the entire time is going to be a plus. Now, he did get a chance to speak with you all briefly afterwards. Any takeaways from that as well? From like, was it super aw shucks? Was it like affable enough?
He's very affable. The smile was on his face the entire time. He talks about 1,000,000 miles per minute. Like I literally, when I went back and had to write it up, I put it on half speed so I could transcribe it because he was just too damn fast. I'm like pounding away. I'm like, he's already 3 sentences ahead and I barely finished the first one. Like,
I mean, like with him, Keon Coleman and Xavier Legette, like we're all going to have to go to like
right.
Cletus the Slackjawed Yokel School just to be able to handle these guys.
It's definitely different. But it was mostly just, like general speak. The one thing that I did that I really liked about it, and I think he said it before in one of our previous Zooms or whatever with him, is that like they have to see it the way I see it because I'm the one who has the ball. So he's told the receivers after practice, go watch the tape, and then we're gonna talk about it because this is what I see. And if essentially, like if you don't see it the way I see it, then it's going to be hard for us to form that sort of connection that a quarterback and receiver wants. And I just like that sort of immediate sort of ownership. Like he could have easily just been like, not go that route at this point. Like I'm just a rookie. I just got the playbook. Like, no, he's already taking control of the young group. And they talked about him, for every guy was just like, yeah, I like the way he leads. He's energetic. It's, how are you doing? And he asks and he's engaging with you. So like he's upbeat. I got to be upbeat. Like I got to match his energy because, well, he's hopefully going to be the guy and he's going to be our guy for a long time.
And we all heard from Bill Belichick that was Tom Brady's first step towards whatever he was going to be in 2000 was taking control of that rookie class, that rookie group, that rookie offense. And that probably is one of the more important things. So the flip side of that is, and you mentioned, I know some of the receivers, Polk, were upbeat on the leadership and kind of what did you see from just an early rapport? I know Fitzy's guy Baker seems like a volatile guy based on his social media, just initial reactions from that duo that, I guess if you hit it right, is your foundational receivers for hopefully the next 5 or 6 years.
Polk is just really smooth, catches the ball away from his body, which again, if you watch any of his tape and like I talked to so many people during the draft process leading up to it, and they're like, he's one of the best go up and get it guys. And I know sometimes that makes people like cringe, like, well, does that mean he doesn't separate? But he does. He's not a huge separator, but he does separate. He runs things consistently. I have a piece coming today on Polk where a former NFL GM is talking about him, and he just says like he's not getting enough credit for being as good as he is. I mean, obviously there was some concern. Did they reach for him at 37? And part of that is just the mock drafts and where people are with the mock drafts and not having him. For the record, I did have him in the second round. Well, look, it's every once in a while, squirrel finds a nut.
It's also not a reach if you're right.
No, you and Jeff Howe
never
both
a reach if you're right. If the player is the player, it'll never ever be called a reach. If he's Cole Strange, it's called a reach.
Yeah, and look, what I think adds to sort of maybe some of the fan base's question or the media's question about it is that they did try to go up and get Legette, right? And they weren't able to pull off that deal. Legette goes to Carolina at 32, then they're at 34. They move back a few spots, and they get their other guy in Polk. So that there'll always be that comparison now too, for him and Legette. That's going to be one of those things people
Ladd
look at.
McConkey too, Mike. We have to also keep an eye. Like I think those 3 careers now are going to be monitored. Like, well, you have to because they wanted Legette at 32. Buffalo says no, and then they could take McConkey at 34. They let him go. Actually, and you have to look at Baker too, because with pick 110 that they got from the Chargers, that's where they took Baker. So those 4 receivers to me are almost as tied up together as Wolf, Mayo, and Drake Maye will be.
Yeah, but if you're right, we won't care. Like,
yeah, right, exactly.
You know what I mean? Like Debo isn't compared to Metcalf or AJ Brown. He's compared to N'Keal Harry because N'Keal Harry blows. So both can be right. Ladd can be fine.
Or N'Keal. What do you do?
I mean, he wasn't very good.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to say on the Ladd McConkey thing, though, and this is why I would not include him in the conversation.
Okay.
Because you, Fitzy, that I was a huge Ladd McConkey guy. Their room features Pop Douglas right now. Pop Douglas is a slot-only receiver. If you bring in Ladd McConkey, even though he had played a fair amount outside, Ladd's probably going to make his living on the inside in the National Football League. So what are you saying then about Pop Douglas? Like, look, if they thought Ladd McConkey was miles and miles better than Pop Douglas and they drafted him, then I would understand the conversation. But based on the way that wide receiver room is currently set up, Pop is probably your best receiver of the returning group, because Kendrick's coming off the knee and who knows when he's going to be completely right. Then why do I want to take snaps away from him? KJ Osborne he can play outside, but he's better in the slot. If Juju's going to be on the team, which I don't think he will be, but if he is, he's going to be playing. Like there's so much duplication there that unless Ladd McConkey was so much better, well, you can roll your eyes at me, Andy.
No,
but
no. Actually, this is one of our live comments because we're streaming now across WEEI's and my socials as well as we record the latest Six Rings. Our friend Claire Cooper, who we've all done a Claire Perspectives podcast, she says, can we get Mike Mondays on the regular, please? Gotta love some dashing Giardi. Ooh, now I got to go from the consummate professional to the dashing one, Mike Giardi.
Am I the only one who reads Claire's emails in her voice? With the British accent.
Oh,
I can't read it. I don't read it like a normal. I have to read it in my head. I even sometimes read it out loud because it's just her voice is delightful.
When she says the word, I've never been able to say the word stood again. She says stud as STOOD, stood.
She also taught me that fanny does not mean the same thing in the U.S. as it does across the pond.
Oh, do tell,
If you pat somebody on the fanny in the U.S., you pat them on the bum, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If you pat somebody on the fanny in across the pond, it's what Donald Trump allegedly did once. And
you're going to jail.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yep.
Fanny patter. Wow. How about that?
So don't do that.
So, yeah, long story short, kids, say no to drugs and don't do that. On the subject of Javon Baker, actually, and the receivers, I grabbed this clip. This was Coach Gerard Mayo speaking afterwards about something you have tweeted about and made a point of emphasis, Andy. Javon Baker and the big game that he talks and how he's going to be able to deliver and what the coaching staff has to say about that.
Say that's terrific. Let's have a little lesson.
Yeah, honestly, like for me, I want these guys to have a personality. I want them to feel free to talk about certain things. Look, we'll have rules of what to talk about, but now once he puts it out there, he has to show it every day out here on the football field. If not, he's just a talker, and then you start to lose the respect of the locker room and things like that. So, look, he said it, you put it out there, now you got to show us.
I think that is a perfectly fair and mature assessment of how they'll handle it. Like, you want to be big on IG, you want to be a superstar, you want to get a $35 million a year wide receiver contract like Justin Jefferson probably will one day soon. Back it up. Back up the talk. It's as simple as that. And if you don't, shut the hell up.
Andy, are you going to talk about your guy?
No, I agree with that. Like you can talk the talk as long as you can walk the walk, because otherwise you're a jackwagon. If you talk the talk and then can't catch the ball, can't get open, can't make plays. Now, I think the guy can, from what I saw at the collegiate level. It's going to be about, I'm not actually as worried about managing the IG and the AB type stuff as much as I am if he doesn't get the ball for 7 plays, does he turn into a douchebag? And does he, he left Alabama, quote, because he wanted the ball. And if you watch his highlights, every snap there is some sort of body language, extracurricular something. That's more what I'm worried about managing, eliminating, or only keeping the good part, because football's an energy sport. I've always believed that. You have to play with a certain edge and energy. That's what I'm more worried about, is the on-field, and quite honestly, Drake Maye having to deal with that and manage that. Because guess what? If you're a diva and you catch 100 balls with like 17 touchdowns, you're fine. If you're a diva and catch 47 balls with 4 touchdowns, you're more trouble than you're worth. Like, that's the balance.
Stephon Diggs in the second half of this last year with Buffalo.
Yep.
Like, we put up with your nonsense for the last year and a half, and then all of a sudden your production's dropping off, you're dropping passes in important moments, and you're still doing the thing behind the scenes. Well, guess what? We could probably figure out a way to pay you $27 million this year, but we've had about enough. So we're going to take the hit. We're going to trade you, and good luck. Right. Godspeed. You'll probably do really well for Houston this year because you're on a 1-year deal. But then someone's going to give you a contract, and then we'll see how you behave going forward. I said this on the air after some of the Javon stuff came out, to be the old bastard, but I am kind of this way. Like, I don't mind when guys talk, but I prefer it when you're talking after you've done something. And to me, he hasn't done anything yet. So like, you go back to the Amon-Ra St. Brown. He knows all the guys that get drafted before him. That wasn't a story until Amon-Ra St. Brown started catching 7, 8, 9 passes a game in the National Football League. And then once he started stacking it up, and you're like, dude, that guy's good. And then he wants to run his mouth. Run your mouth. So I love the confidence that he has. Clearly, he believes in himself, as he should. That's what you want. But like, tamp it down a little bit until I mean, he can't put the cat back in the bag at this point, but I would have preferred if he tamped it down, go show me something in August, more importantly, go show me something starting in September. And then like, if you want to bark at people, I got my pen ready. I'll write it. Go for it.
You're old.
Yeah,
I am. I'll admit it. Like,
thinking, like, the reality is, and I see this all the time in high school sports, like, this is a new generation. And I think Gerard realizes that and is trying to work in that world, not the world he played in. Because what you just described was the Patriots dynasty. We'll talk our crap after the game. We'll be flapping our wings in the Super Bowl when we're whooping your ass. We're not flapping.
We'll do the Merriman dance on the lightning bolt after we shock you in the
That's not the world anymore.
Round,
Now, watch an NBA game, watch an AAU game, watch a high school game. You hit 1-3 and you go up 3-0 and you're like doing what I don't even know what it is. You're doing
the low threes or whatever they do.
Like you're too short.
Nothing.
But I understand it, and I've tried to as you're around this guy. Thank you. Yes, I am.
Said we.
Although pretty soon I'm going to have that vicious tan, and then Mayo's going to think I'm Cuban again. So
why? Hey, Mike, you know someplace I can go for a good arepa or Cubano sandwich around here? Like, what do you think I'm in on?
Yeah.
Do I look like I'm a member of the Buena Vista Social Club?
He would come in when he was working on TV in late August or early September and be like, you look Cuban. So
can I just throw one thing Mayo related out there that, again, people will hate, but I go to the world where everybody has eyeballs. Has he
put on weight? Yes.
Don't do that.
He said it for me. I didn't have to.
Mm-hmm. Come on.
It happens to all of us. Oh, just Mr. Awaken 180 over here.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm at my ideal body weight. I'm getting my hashtag summer shred on. Like,
I was just asking a question. If we can acknowledge when Troy Brown looks jacked, Mayo looks a little chunky.
You just age-shamed Giardi. Now you're body-shaming Mayo.
It's not body-shaming. I have effing eyeballs. I can see the way his shirt fits.
I know that he's not happy about it.
Not flattering.
And it's interesting because I don't know if you guys saw the pictures of Dayball this past week. So Dayball at the end of last year was a freaking gigantic.
He looked like that.
And now he's done me. It's January till May. Like I'm not healthy. I gotta lose this weight. He dropped a lot of weight. And then, we'll see him again in December and he'll probably be back, looking like
lifestyle not healthy.
No, terrible.
No. Well, I can also confirm one thing. He enjoys the style of beer, the ale that I prefer. Very much. Andy, you're not an IPA guy. Giardi, I know you're a little bit more of a lager.
That's calories.
It is. And I think he's probably leaned into a couple over time. So, but that being okay. All right. So it's been a little difficult to transition. He'll get back in shape.
Called him fat.
Yep. There you go. Just want to let everyone know it was me who mentioned it first. It definitely wasn't Andy. Thank you very much, Andy. I appreciate that. That's you doing you son of a bitch. Now let's look. I don't mind if you're gonna put it. If Baker's gonna put it out there, that's fine. Now it's been said. Now walk it back. Now show me something as well. And I agree with you guys that this is the new style of receiver. This is the new paradigm that they have to deal with as well. Now Andy's catching strays in the comments.
I like that.
I'd rather have a dad bod than be an adult who wears visors.
One of the greatest football minds of this century wear visors.
Josh
McDaniels, old ball coach. We all stick together.
Great comps. Yes. And one day soon you'll all be unemployed.
Yeah. What's Josh doing?
One day we'll all be dead too.
Well, that's true. That's true. Now, but let's talk real quick. So we're comfortable with where we think Gerard Mayo's coming from right now. Hopefully he'll keep these guys tamped down, but understand that they want to express themselves as well. Look,
that was one of the best things I think of all this, like all the things that we've heard Gerard say from the introductory press conference. That I loved that comment. Yeah, I did. I was like, that was a good, like he says he wants to be transparent. Like that was as transparent as you can be. Like, yeah, it kind of probably made him cringe a little bit on the inside, but all right, if you're going to do it, you every day. Not just in games too. He's like, every day I want to see this in practice. Bring that same energy. So
Steph Diggs will probably be great for CJ Stroud this year because he knows he's got to get a contract, and that'll be that bump that Josh Allen got from Steph Diggs back in Buffalo as well. And on that subject of receivers having these chips on their shoulders, like we just saw Adonai Mitchell choose the number 10 because there were 10 receivers taken in front of him as well. So whether he can put up with that, and hey, Buffalo's probably thrilled because while Keon Coleman may not be Steph Diggs like he was 3 years ago, they have a soundbite machine that has brought all of this positive PR, and people are way into Buffalo now because they got the funniest guy in the NFL wearing Macy's yellow puffy coats and handing out snacks from the buffet, from the craft services table to the beat writers. But let's get to another move over the weekend. The Patriots getting through the dog and pony show that was the hiring of a general manager. There is no official GM, Mike, as we're to come to know. And now Elliot Wolf is what is the official title now that they've gone through the Rooney Rule interviews they've bestowed upon him?
Executive Vice President of Player Personnel.
So he's the GM.
Highest ranking personnel official by title that they've had in my lifetime, I believe.
Wow. Okay.
It's a long time too.
And it's been a few years. Yeah, for sure.
Almost
But
dead.
we won't, but we're not going to age shame you or body shame you either here. Not on sex rings.
Shame in this body right now, bitches.
Can we hair shame you right now?
Yeah.
What?
It's like a 5-head back there, man.
I think I'm losing a little back here. I think
Andy, did you have like an aggression line like shaved into your head? Like
no, that's my natural. It does that.
You get a natural
part
a lot
when I do TV. A lot of text. Like
hey, Andy does TV.
There you go.
That as well. Look at that lettuce. Oh, the salt and pepper effect.
Yes.
More salt than pepper.
They're going to get people pregnant watching this now. Easy.
True story. I'm sitting there. My son and I are watching the game, the Bruins game, and I was doing something on the computer, and boom, a picture of it must have been it was Drake Maye, and I'm on the left side, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm like, there's way more. I'm like more gray than I am brown. Like, and he's like, it's just the lighting. I was like, that's not just the lighting. I'm almost I'm a full white head soon.
It is what it is.
Yeah. So I guess I'd rather have the hair than not have the hair.
So all right, so we're all happy with this. We're all comfortable. Like we understand that's a big deal. They're still trying to do things a tad too unique. They can't just call him GM. But that said, we know he has the GM powers. He handled the first offseason without Bill Belichick being in charge of personnel, working with a new coach who's trying to find his way. I think with aplomb, he has not had to walk anything back. Mayo and others have had to walk things back. I think Wolf has done a great job, both behind the microphone and then obviously in the war room and wherever they do all of their draft and player personnel preparation, Mike. Confidence level is where heading forward with Elliot Wolf steering the personnel ship.
So I think he's done what he could do this offseason by and large. But I would just take this from like developing these relationships I have across the league and then talking to people across the league when it was clear that this was the direction they were going in. And a lot of people are like, give him time. He knows what he's doing. And, like it's obviously because of the state that the roster was in, especially offensively with what Bill left him, there's work to be done that couldn't be cured in one off season. So this is a multi-year process of him trying to rework the roster and build up the level of talent, raise the floor, but also raise the ceiling, get some blue chippers in here, which they lack actually on both sides of the ball. There's not too many of those. So I derived a bunch of confidence from talking to people around the league who I don't even know that I would consider like they would be considered friends of Wolf or friends of Ron Wolf in the past, just people that have observed him and dealt with him over the course of time in his various roles and just felt like this guy is equipped to do this job if they allow him to do this job. And I think that's the big one for me is how much control does he really have? You can put all this stuff on paper and say he's making all the decisions, but how much is Jonathan? How much is Jonathan Kraft really involved? I know they've sort of thrown their hands back and said, oh, no, we're not. But yet, when you talk to people around the league do believe that he is involved. Jonathan is. So that's the big thing. Like, because I don't think just go back, man. Like, I don't think any really good organization thrives when their owner thinks that he can run the football team, like the football part of the football team. You hired the football people to do their job. That's what Robert did smartly. We remember the Bucky Jones and the stopwatch, but like he hired the right people, and when he did, he just backed up. And now, because Bill's not here, are they sort of stepping into that vacuum that's been created and trying to have a little bit more influence, get their football team back, I guess is the saying that we've used for the last few months.
So that I don't, from what I've heard, Jonathan is asking a lot of questions, way more questions than they've ever asked before, but not necessarily making decisions or imparting a lot of pressure. I have full faith in Elliott Wolf. I think Elliott Wolf is, as Mayo said, he was sort of like bred for this job. I think Robert has said that. I have full faith. My question for you is, are we going to see changes beneath him on the depth chart? I know Alonzo Highsmith was brought in. Is Matt Groh here to stay? Is Matt Groh going to get kicked out? And because often teams do this, they turn it over in May after the draft when they have a new regime. Is there going to be some turnover below Elliott Wolf on the power chart?
So there are several guys that contracts are coming up. I don't know if Matt's one of them. Although timetable wise, it would seem to make sense that he would be. But I do expect there'll be some change. But again, I can't tell you who's going to go. I just would assume at this point, because of what you mentioned, that Elliott there are probably some people that he would like to bring in. He brought in Highsmith, right? Which was as I said to everyone, like that was the true tell that he was going to end up being in charge. Highsmith is not leaving a good job at the University of Miami to come up and work with his buddy, Elliott Wolf, if Elliott was going to be kicked back down or kicked out after the draft was over. So, but I would expect, like, hey, it's your show. Bring in some of your people that you trust.
Yeah, Mike, you said you have a piece coming out on Boston Sports Journal later today, again on what, so we can make sure that
Jalen Polk, and just sort of for those that were questioning whether the pick, there's at least one former NFL GM who was really high on the pick, and I'll sort of weave that in with some of the stuff that we heard from Polk this weekend as well. But just I thought it was interesting to sort of get that view, like, because again, it's been sort of one of the things that beyond the Drake Maye, is he ready? When will he be ready to play? Should they have traded down and drafted other pieces and waited on the quarterback? This to me now, this is your roster. These are the guys that you drafted. Well, where do they fit and what could be the ceiling for some of these players? And I thought it was interesting.
Oh, for sure. And I remember watching, and we shared it when we did our draft reaction live show and podcast. Mina Kimes was so high on Jalen Polk, her favorite receiver. She usually knows her roster stuff pretty well. So the Pats may have a good one there as well. But to Andy Hart, in his piece that he just published this morning at weei.com.
Oh, he still writes?
Believe it or not, every now and again, we get a fresh piece of written content about the Patriots.
Suck my
what? What?
Oh my God. It's a family podcast, everyone, even though it is now officially
frosting on it.
Okay.
I had 3 slices of cake last night.
What?
Andy, this is not an OnlyFans channel. This is it's for Pats fans, but
these people here are only our fans, so they're only fans.
Honestly, I wish I had Tony Reali's power and I could mute you for 30 seconds. Anyway,
that would be nice.
Andy's piece today, why neither Gerard Mayo nor Drake Maye is the key to the Patriots' future success. I have a feeling, as we just talked about the EVP of player personnel, that you are speaking in reference to AVP. Would you like to expand and then give Mike a chance to respond before we wrap it up?
Sure. I mean, I think, we lived in a world where the debate was Brady or Belichick or Brady, the quarterback and the head coach. And I think based on the way things are set up, defensive coach Gerard Mayo, young coach Gerard Mayo, and based on where the league has gone. I mean, Ben Johnson, Bobby Slowick, like Brian Daboll, you mentioned, like the league is sort of run by QB fixing or developing offensive minds. Now, some of those are head coaches, like Kyle Shanahan is Brock Purdy's guy, like those places. I think that combination, whoever's running the offense, whoever's in the ear of the quarterback, and Gerard Mayo said on Saturday, that's Alex Van Pelt. You don't want too many voices. Now, I did find it interesting that in May's comments, he was kind of high on McAdoo. And there was already like an interesting seemingly connection and respect because of McAdoo's accomplishments, things he's done, videos that he's showing, whatever. But no, I think if Alex Van Pelt in his first shot to really be an offensive coordinator does a good job, then we will be talking about Maye and Mayo a lot. And if he doesn't, We'll be talking about Maye and Mayo a lot, but in a different direction. So behind the scenes, I think the sneaky most important man in the organization is AVP.
It's an excellent point. It's something that, Andy, I've been talking about a little bit too, in terms of, again, talking to people around the league about Alex. And I don't know what Alex is going to be as an OC. I don't think anybody can fully know, because he hasn't called play since 2009, with an exception of a game here or there when Stefanski was sick with COVID. So, like, I don't know what kind of play caller he's going to be, play designer, all those sorts of things. But talking to people around the league about Alex Van Pelt, the quarterback's coach, I have confidence in Alex Van Pelt to do a good job on that front. And I think it was important that Gerard indicated, because we had the story about McAdoo from Cam Wolf around the draft. Well, McAdoo is going to be heavily involved. And I was like, I don't know if that's what I'm hearing or if that's necessarily a good thing, because the coordinator and the quarterback, as Gerard mentioned, but like we've seen it a million years, they were attached at the hip. They spent a ton of time together. Yeah, he's got a quarterback's coach in TC McCartney. McAdoo's going to be doing what McAdoo's going to be doing, but push comes to shove, it's Alex and Drake in a room together, and Drake saying, I like this, I don't like this, I feel comfortable with this. What, why are we doing that? And Alex being able to shepherd him through all that stuff. So, like, to me, that relationship is critical. And if it, to Andy's point, if it goes poorly, then are we doing the offensive coordinator carousel again at the end of the year?
Please no.
And setting yourself up just like you did. Look, again, Mac Jones, from a talent perspective, does not have the physical talent that Drake Maye does, whether you like Mac or not. It's just from a physical skill set standpoint, they're not the same guy. They're not on the same talent field. But, like, if Mac had a chance, some of that chance got eroded because you went from one OC, which, hey, Josh got a job. So, like, you can't knock Josh for getting a head coaching job, but then doing what they did, as we've talked about with Judge and Patricia, and then this past year to Bill O'Brien. And just like that constant churn is the absolute blueprint for screwing up young quarterbacks. And for years, we looked at other teams, Patriots fans did, and be like, look at the Jets. They're on their fourth offensive coordinator and their third quarterback in the last 4 years, and that's why they suck, and that's why they're the Jets. Well, the reason why you've sort of cratered is because you've become, in some parts, you've done the same thing, and you have to have hit this out. You have to have hit this. That has to at least be a double. Like, there has to be some solid contact made here with your hire, or you're going to be in the market again at the end of the year, and that's not a good place to be.
No, and I've said all along that I think the most important thing is not going to be his play calls. It's not going to be the intricate play design. Oh, my God, look at the Alex Van Pelt offense. He's the new Sean McVay. No, or Cliff Kingsbury. It's just going to be like, wow, he's done a Dayball-esque job with Drake Maye, and that's all he needs to do year one, and that's really all I think I think a lot of other fans want to or need to see. A couple of super fast questions on the way out the door real quick. Jeff Stenberg, if AVP does such a great job, then how long would it be before he's a head coach? Everyone wants those guys. I think the answer is no time soon, because he's just now taking over play calling. He's going to need at least a couple of years to mold Drake Maye before I think anyone would be interested, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's already in his mid-50s, right? So that would be a late turn for him. Look, not out of the realm of possibility. If Drake Maye pops off in the next 2 years, maybe he does get that buzz, but it would seem like he's never had that opportunity. He's never been put in that position. So, from however you want to put it, the 32 owners have never viewed him as that guy. So it would take something rather strong with Drake Maye to even put himself in that conversation.
And from for the group at large, from Mike Dickinson watching live on Facebook now here on Six Rings, what receivers could you compare Baker and Polk that are currently in the league? I'd heard a great comp for Jalen Polk would be Amari Cooper if he lives up to the hype.
That's a better. So the two that have come across, and I don't love either one of them now that, especially when I started doing some more background on it, like some people's Tyler Boyd. Tyler's 6'2", like Tyler's been mostly a slot guy, which Polk I don't think is going to be mostly a slot guy. And like Boyd's athletic testing was not even remotely in the same league as Polk's. So again, I think Polk didn't have, he ran a 4.5 240, but if you watch the tape, he plays faster than that, so like not too caught up in that number. And I heard people sort of say Jacoby Myers. I think Phil Perry has mentioned Jacoby Myers, and I think I view it the same way. Like, Well, first of all, Polk has way more on his resume in terms of being a receiver. We know Jacoby didn't make the change until college, and Polk was already playing as a freshman at TCU before he transferred to Washington. So from an athletic standpoint, for as much as I like Jacoby, not an explosive athlete at all. Sort of a catch and fall down guy, and I don't think Polk is a great run after catch guy, but I still put him from an athletic standpoint in a higher bar than that.
And what do you think, Andy? Who do you think? Again, it's way too early. He's never made even a professional catch. Best case scenario, Javon Baker is a Foxborough version of.
That's a tough one for me.
Yeah,
Mike, do you have one for him? As you
think on it.
Big catch radius, playmaker, not afraid to go up and get it. Also moves pretty well.
I got nothing.
Yeah, I don't have a great I think he's a pretty unique player. I think there is more run after catch ability than some people give him credit for. Mm-hmm. He's explosive. We've talked about that as sort of both a personality trait and a playmaking trait. Amendola, are you talking about Baker? No chance. Not even close, in my opinion. Yeah, so unless I really love a player and think the comp is really accurate, it's a dangerous game to play because people either pause. Like the Jacoby Myers one for Polk, I think is interesting because we all like Jacoby Myers. We think he was their best receiver for portions of time. He was undrafted. If he was a second-round pick and went as long as he did without a touchdown, that whole story would have looked different. That was a whole different tale to tell.
Different narrative spin. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So those are challenges. I think Baker, just stick to being the combination of skills that you are and try to. David Givens, but I think he's more explosive than David Givens. Actually popped into my mind based on sort of body type. But I think he's more explosive than David Givens ever was. And so that's why I kind of paused at but Burley, I'm with you the little bit in my head. And David Givens was the opposite end personality wise. He was literally and figuratively from Humble, Texas. Like he was a totally different dude.
I'm thinking maybe Calvin Ridley could be a decent comp for Javon Baker over time. Like maybe they didn't spend $23 million because they thought they had a chance to go get the store brand rookie contract version of him.
Does he have a girlfriend who's comfortable in the Northeast?
All right.
Jeff Steinberg with the Anquan Bolden. Like, God, if Javon Baker turned into Anquan Bolden, who, by the way, also operated a ton in the slot, I mean, we're talking about Anquan's a Hall of Fame type player. I don't know if he's going to get it.
Literally was so tough, his face broke. They pulled his skin off his face in surgery to rebuild his face, and he was playing football again a few weeks later. Like, that was a badass receiver. And also key to that Ravens Super Bowl run when they came back in and got revenge in the AFC Championship. Fuad Nihiman is asking about Bailey Zappi, if he will be on the roster in training camp for a training arm. And then AJ says Milton is so bad that great arm strength, but can't read things, is not a pro quarterback. Wouldn't be surprised if he is actually cut as well. Between the Zapper and Milton, Mike, last question. Who do you think makes the roster and who hits the bricks?
So I think Zappi's still here. I know that's not the popular thing to say. I think it gives them, look, it depends on Drake's development. If they feel like, and I still haven't ruled out that Drake could start week 1, even though I think that's probably a long shot. Like I'm not in the who he has to sit. No, if he's better, he plays, period, end of story. But if they look at him and again, they say, here's a developmental thing. And it's, maybe we're talking about him in October or November playing and not in September. Well, then I want another layer of depth. And Bailey Zappi would be the layer of depth, so I don't have to put Drake Maye in a game if I'm not comfortable or feel like he's fully ready to do that just yet. And so I have a guy in Bailey Zappi that I know has played in the NFL, has started games, has won games, and whether it's not very popular. Yeah, Andy, it makes sense to keep him around. First, put him in his place. Right, like I want you to compete, but also if you're a dick to Drake, we might have to fight you.
Don't Mac Jones this shit. Yeah.
We're not doing we're not doing that again. We're not having that toxic relationship all over again. So like, if he understands that and like, hey, you can compete, and if you beat out Jacoby Brissett, God bless you. Like, and Jacoby becomes the layer of depth before you get to Drake, then do it. And if Drake is ready, then that's when you that's when you do it. Like when you feel like Drake is ready, you can put Drake in a game and not feel like you're going to damage him. That's when you can chop Bailey.
We find out when the schedule goes official this Wednesday. A previously leaked schedule has the Patriots on a week 9 bye. We'll see if that actually holds true. They would then open at Tennessee week 4, Thursday Night Football, one of their 2 Thursday night games. That would be at the Bears. I hate that game could potentially be that early because I was hoping maybe it would be later in the year so we could see Maye versus Caleb Williams as well. But we'll see. That comes out Wednesday night. Andy and I will have our reactions to that as well when it drops and lands. We'll look forward to your thoughts as well, Mike. Thank you so much for all of the time today, the insight, perspective, analysis, and, dare I say, Andy, professionalism from the undeniably dashing at Mike Giardi. Of course, he's Andy Hart, otherwise known at Jumbo Hart, the body shamer. And I just need a nap. I'm your old pal, Nick Fitzy Stevens at Fitzy GFY. Thank you, Mike. We'll look forward to reading your stuff on Boston Sports Journal and talking to you later. More beer boxes for certain on your horizon. This has been Six Rings and Football Things live on the EEI and Fitzy GFY socials. And thank you for subscribing to the podcast, listening, sharing, reviewing, and loving it like you always do. For Hart, for Giardi, for Terp, our producers, and everyone else involved, this has been Six Rings Live. We'll talk to you soon. Good day. God bless. And